How's it going, Castle Church? I'm excited to be bringing you this week's message that I believe God has put on my heart. I hope you guys are hanging in there. You guys are surviving through this crisis. And see, the thing that I learned about crisis is that crisis is just a time to know who Christ is. So during this crisis, I've been doing a lot of reading and thinking and praying. And I came to a question that I believe every single person comes to at some point in their life. And that question is, do I really need God? What can a life without God, or what can a life with God offer me that a life without Him can't? Some of you may be watching and you may be thinking that I have a nice house, I have a nice family, I have a good job. Do I really need God in my life? And I want to give you the title of my message, A Miracle with Your Name on It. So the answer to that question we can see in Luke chapter 5. And this is where Jesus is calling His disciples, and there's a group of fishermen. They've been fishing all day, and they didn't catch anything until Jesus comes onto the scene. And Luke chapter 5, verse 4 through 5 says, "When He had finished speaking, He said to Simon, 'Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch.' And Simon answered, 'Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets.'" The first thing I want to talk to you about is the need. So we can see that the need is specific, the need is personal. If they didn't catch any fish, they couldn't eat. If they didn't catch any fish, they couldn't provide for their family. That was the life of a fisherman. And their need was also uncontrollable. They couldn't control how much fish they caught. I wonder what it might have been like to wake up every single day with a nagging need that you didn't know if by the end of the day that need would be met. Waking up every day with the need that you can't control. Waking up every day with the need that you don't have the answer to. Can I suggest that this is what a life without God is like? You wake up every day with a nagging need that you have no control over. You wake up every day with a nagging need that you don't have the answer to. You wake up every day and the depression's still there, the anxiety's still there. No matter how hard you try, no matter how big your house is, no matter how much money you make, there's nothing that you can do. There's nothing that no person or no thing can give you to help you to control this need. No matter how full you are on the outside, you're empty on the inside. And I want to show you what happens next. So Luke chapter 5, verse 6 through 11 says, "When they had done so, when they cast the nets, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats so full they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, 'Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man.' For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of the fish they had taken, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, 'Do not be afraid. From now on you will fish for people.' So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed Him." So now I want to talk to you about the miracle. The miracle was personal. The miracle was specific. It's not a coincidence that Jesus used fish in order to change a group of fishermen. That miracle was personal and specific. And see, when we give our lives to Jesus, we all share a universal miracle of salvation and redemption. But Jesus also has a personal and specific miracle in store for each and every one of us. See, when we read the Gospels, we read a book of miracles, but we don't just see one reoccurring miracle. Instead, we see Jesus going person to person and meeting their specific needs. If you couldn't hear, Jesus gave you hearing. If you couldn't see, if you were blind, Jesus made you see. If you couldn't walk, Jesus said, "Get up and walk." If you were sick, Jesus healed you. We serve a personal God. There's no problem that He hasn't seen. There's no problem He hasn't faced. There's no problem that you're going through right now that makes you hopeless. There's nothing that you're going through. There's no one too sick. There's no one too lost. There's no one too broken. There's no problem that He hasn't faced. And maybe you're battling right now, and you may be thinking you're hopeless. But I'm here to tell you that Jesus wants to personally deliver a miracle to you, and He has a miracle with your name on it. And I'm sure I could even go around this room right now and ask every single person to testify about what God has done in their life, and you would get a different answer from each and every one of us. Because God came through in a personal and specific way for each and every one of us in here today. We all have our own unique testimonies. So sometimes we get confused and we expect Jesus to fix all our problems. But I wonder if the blind had any other problems in their life. I wonder if the deaf had any other problems in their life. I wonder if the paralyzed man had any other problems in his life. See, because if we're being honest, we never only have one problem. It's usually more like we have more problems than we can count. So Jesus, he doesn't fix all your problems. Instead, he goes to the most significant, the most personal, the most painful area in your life, and he does a miracle. So what if the area that's causing you the most pain is the area that God will reveal the most power? Because where there's pain, there is his power. Where there's pain, there is his purpose. Where there's pain, there is provision. Where there's pain, there is his plan. Where there's pain, there is peace. And a good example to paint the picture for you is a man named Nick Vujicic, and he's been such an inspiration to me. He was born with no arms and no legs, and as he was growing up, he got bullied to the point where he was suicidal, and he got so desperate that he just prayed and asked God for a miracle. But you see, God didn't give him arms and legs. Instead, he said that Jesus gave him hope. Jesus gave him peace. Jesus gave him purpose. Jesus gave him a future. Jesus gave him a plan. Jesus goes to the most personal areas in our life. And now he is one of the most famous, inspirational speakers and preachers in this world today. He's spoken to millions and millions of people. So Jesus is going to the most personal area in our life. And for some of us, that's an area that we can't even see. That's an area that we thought was hidden. That's an area that we thought no one knew about. You can't see an emotional wound. You can't see trauma. For some of us, it's an area that we can't see. We thought was hidden. Yet God is so personal. He knows you. He knows you by name. He knows the amount of hair that's on your head. He knows your every breath. He knew you from your mother's womb. He knows your every step, and he loves you. He's so personal. And see, we live in a generation of depression and anxiety. So those are the biggest needs, some of the biggest needs in our society. So I don't think we're in a time where God's doing less miracles. I think we're in a time where most of the miracles are unseen because they're taking place on the inside. There's more emotional healing going on. There's more mental healing going on. So I want to show you what happens next. Luke chapter 5, verse 11 says, "So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him." See, because it's a process. Jesus revealed himself first. Jesus did the miracle first, and then they followed him. Before the fishermen could become disciples, Jesus revealed himself first, and he did a personal miracle in their life. And we try to preach it the other way around. We expect people to give their lives to Jesus without him first revealing himself to them, without him first doing a miracle in their life. Before you can genuinely and effectively give your life to Jesus, he wants to reveal himself to you in a personal way. He wants to do a personal miracle in your life. See, the story isn't finished because it gets even better, specifically for Simon. So once Simon left everything and followed Jesus, Jesus became his life. Jesus was his new occupation. He followed Jesus everywhere he possibly could. He saw him do miracles. He tried to learn as much as he possibly could from Jesus because he believed that Jesus was the Messiah. Jesus was his everything. But then it came time for Jesus to die. And when Jesus died, Simon was confused. He didn't understand what was going on. So Simon went back to his old ways. Simon went back to being hopeless. Simon went back to being impulsive. Simon went back to having no self-control. Simon went back to square one. And see, some of us, we're going through the same process because God did something personal in our life. But what happens when the feelings fade? What happens when Easter's over and the passion dies out? What happens when the trials come? We go back. We go back to our old ways. We go back to our old habits. We go back to that old addiction. We go backwards. We go back to square one. But watch this. John chapter 21, verse 1 through 6. It says, after Jesus had died, Jesus appeared again. Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter told them. And they said, we'll go with you. So they went out, got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Sounds familiar. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. He said, throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Jesus did it again. This message is for someone who feels like they're back at square one. This message is for someone who went back. This message is for someone whose problems are familiar to them. This message is for someone who keeps dealing with the anxiety. This message is for someone who keeps dealing with the depression. This message is for someone who keeps dealing with the addiction. This message is for someone who's back at square one. Jesus appeared again. Jesus appeared again. What happened? What happened the last time I ran out of fish? What happened the last time I was in this exact situation? What happened the last time I was lonely? What happened the last time I was hopeless? What happened the last time I was in this exact situation? Jesus came through and he had a miracle with my name on it. And just when Simon thought it was over, just when Simon thought he would never sense God's presence again, just when Simon thought he was hopeless, just when Simon thought he was abandoned, just when Simon gave up. You see, if you don't know what grace is when I gave up on God, but he didn't give up on me. You might think it's over, just when you thought it was over, just when you gave up, just when you were hopeless, just when you felt abandoned, just when you thought you would never sense God's presence ever again, just when you thought there's no coming back from it this time, this might be the exact time that Jesus appears again. And if you're watching, type that, again. Type again. See, I wonder if we can miss the miracle, because the miracle has our name on it. But the thing about Simon is Jesus called him Peter. So the first time Simon received the miracle, he went back to being impulsive. He went back to being unstable. He went back to having no self-control. And every time Jesus sensed that he was going backwards, he would call him Peter. And see, the ironic thing about Peter is that Peter means rock. Peter means stable. Peter means firm. No longer impulsive, but premeditated. No longer wavering, but constant. So I wonder if the first time Simon received the miracle, if he forgot to acknowledge the name. So the only thing that changed about Simon was his circumstance, but nothing in him changed. And see, we'll miss it too if we do the same thing. We forget to acknowledge the name. Our circumstance may change, but nothing in us will change. Or maybe we see the name, but the name is the complete opposite of how we see ourselves. We don't see ourselves that way, so we ignore it. Let me get my demonstration. See, if we receive the miracle, we forget to check the name, all we're going to get is this. I know it's a toy fish, but it's all I got. If I brought a real fish, this place would be smelling. This is all we're going to get. I got his friend too. Hold on. This is all we're going to get because this is all we think it's about. We can't see the depth of the miracle. This is all we think it's about. But see, when we acknowledge the name, we realize that the miracle isn't about changing my circumstance. The miracle is about changing my identity. I see a fisher of men in you. I see a life changer in you. I see a church planner in you. I see someone who's going to make an impact on the world in you. I see a rock. I see someone who is firm. The lepers were known as lepers. The sick were known as sick. The paralyzed were known as hopeless sinners. Saul was known as a murderer until one day Jesus came on the scene and he had a miracle with their name on it. Don't be surprised if you feel abandoned, but your miracle says my child on it. Don't be surprised if you're addicted, but your miracle says free on it. Don't be surprised if your miracle says righteous. Don't be surprised if your miracle says redeemed. Don't be surprised if your miracle says hope. Don't be surprised if your miracle says love. Don't be surprised because I have a new name. I have a new identity. I am no longer a slave to sin. I am a child of God. I am who He says I am. So I just want to finish by praying for you guys. So if you can bow your heads, close your eyes. And Lord, I pray for those who are watching. I pray that you would see their hurts, their pain, their problems, even the problems that are unseen. Problems that maybe they thought were hidden. Go to the most personal area in their lives. And Lord, meet them there. Meet them there. And just like we sang earlier, will you meet me here again, Lord? For the people who went backwards, the people who are back at square one, will you meet them there again? Meet them there again, Lord. Appear to them again. Lord, no one is hopeless. No one's too lost, Lord. Your love's unconditional. Your grace is too powerful, Lord, for anyone to be lost. So, God, I pray for those watching. I pray you do a miracle in their life. I pray you would reveal yourself to them in a personal way, Lord. Draw them to you, Lord. They're hungry for you, Lord. I know we're all, as human beings, craving something more. So, Lord, do it. Do a miracle. Reveal yourself. I pray this all in your name, Jesus. Amen. Thank you guys for watching. Please share, please like, and stay tuned for more worship.
I saw your goodness on the mountain. I felt your love down in the valley. And your grace is still surround me. God, you've been good to me. Yes, you've been good to me. My soul, oh, sing. My soul sing with all my heart. I have breath inside my body. I have life inside my bones. And I cannot help but praise you. God, you've been good to me. Yes, you've been good to me. My soul sings. My soul sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. Oh, you're my reward. And through the years, you've been good to me. So good to me. So good to me. Faithful to the edge. Now I'm missing on the rising sun with the hope of future and the dream to come, and it doesn't change. I won't give up, 'cause whatever failed me, no, not one. Now I'm dancing on and the rising sun to the hope for future and the dream to come. When the season change, I won't give up, 'cause you never fail me. No, not once. Yeah. Now I'm dancing on and the rising sun to the hope for future and the dream to come. And when season change, I won't give up, 'cause you never fail me. No, not once. My soul sings, say my soul sings. My soul sings with all my heart. I love you, Lord. You're my first love. You're my reward. And through the years, you've been good to